I'm at the corner of Broadway and West Side Avenue in Jersey City. Just about a block and a half down that way is Aunt Loretta's apartment. Just a few quick steps, a very short walk, and we're on the corner of Broadway and West Side Avenue. Aunt Loretta lives about a block and a half down. That's where I live now. And I wanted to show you my favorite thing when I was a little young boy during the 1960s. Aunt Loretta and Aunt Teresa would take me here, would take a walk with me down the block here, about a block and a half up, to this corner of Broadway and West Side. And we'd come down here, and I want to show you what I used to do as a young boy all the time. By the way, this is Puccini's restaurant on the corner. Years ago in the 60s and 70s, this was the Villa Capri, a great exclusive restaurant. It became Puccini's later on, and now Puccini's is abandoned and empty because a developer is coming in to redevelop the whole site. But on this corner here of Broadway and West Side Avenue, we used to take a walk down. Come follow me, take a walk with me. And we used to walk down here, and they take me here to play. And I'm going to show you my favorite place to play when I was a young boy. By the way, over here we have Ercolino Salomaria. This is the very last, look at that. That's where I'm taking you, to the trains. Ercolino Salomaria is the last true Italian restaurant and deli in the Marion section neighborhood here. It's the last one left. And it's just a short two blocks down, block and a half down from the apartment. So sometimes I come here and get some good Italian food. And it's a very popular place to hold parties and things like that. It's a deli restaurant kind of thing. Not fancy, but very good Italian food right here. So you just walk down here a little bit. And we used to walk down here, and they would take me to the railroad tracks. This is the Lackawanna Railroad. Well, this was the Lackawanna Railroad, upon which my grandfather, Francesco Cavallo, worked for many years, for decades. And this was not here before. In the 1960s, this was all open, and you could see the railroad tracks right here. They built a wall and some vegetation and a giant fence because they blocked it all off. But in the old days, when I was a young boy, this was wide open, and you could walk across the railroad tracks to the next street, which is Newark Avenue. And they used to take me here, and I used to play on the railroad tracks. And these are the tracks. There they are. These are the railroad tracks where I used to play on when I was a young boy during the decade of the 1960s. And at that time, it is nothing like today. At that time, you could actually play on the tracks. And we used to wait for the barrier arm to come down when the train was going by, and we'd step back, watch the trains go by. My favorite thing in the world was to watch the trains go by. I loved that. Loved watching the trains go by. And that developed my love of trains. To this day, I enjoy trains. I enjoy watching trains. I enjoy listening to the trains chug along on the tracks. I love the horn that they blow, and I love riding on trains. And that's because I spent my entire childhood on these tracks playing and watching the trains go by. And that's what Aunt Teresa and Aunt Loretta did with me when I was a child. I used to come to Jersey City with my mother almost every weekend during the 1960s. I mean, every single weekend. And every single weekend, we would watch the trains go by and play on the tracks. And that's what they did, and they instilled a love for the trains by doing that. My grandfather, Francesco, worked very hard on this railroad. He was a laborer. So what he did was he went out and actually drove the spikes into the tracks. He scraped the ice off of the tracks in the wintertime, all done by hand, all done by his hard muscle and labor, because at that time they didn't have fancy machines. It wasn't modern like it is today. So years later, in the late 1970s, they blocked this all off and they changed everything. By the way, that building over there is a former factory. It's now closed as a factory. I think they're converting it to condos or something. That building over there, right there, that one, right there is where Aunt Teresa used to work for a while. And she used to sew and produce toy children's gun holsters, like for cowboy, when you play cowboys and Indians as a child. Well, the toy gun holsters that the children would wear, and this is the 1960s. So it's a whole different era, different values, different sensibilities, different everything. They made those children's material and those children's holsters over there. And she brought me home a couple in those days. And she used to work there for a while. And they did all kinds of children's stuff and other things over there for a little while. There's another factory over here, former factory. But these tracks here really meant something to me because they were really part of my formative years growing up as a young child. And then they built this wall and they separated it, and you can't cross here anymore. So it's not the same as it used to be, obviously. And of course, you would never allow children to go anywhere near railroad tracks today. But in the 1960s, I played all I wanted on the tracks and around the tracks and near the tracks and watched the trains go by, and it was a lot of fun. I wish that there was train was going by now. That would be great. But unfortunately, I think we may have missed the most recent train. I'll hang out here a little bit, and I'll catch another video of a train going by if a train comes by anytime soon. I love this, and I just wanted you to know why. This is why I love trains. It's because of these very tracks and this very location, this very spot where I spend so much time playing on the tracks with Aunt Teresa and Aunt Loretta, right here. Okay, signing off in Jersey City on the end of West Side Avenue at the Lackawanna Railroad tracks. Right now, New Jersey Transit runs its trains between Newark and Journal Square. Journal Square is that way, Newark is that way. And Newark and Harrison are that way. And if you take the PATH trains between them, this is the track that you ride on. Take care, signing off for now.